All right, so here we are, Episode 6, Black Fatherhood Legacy. I am Jay Cortez. This is
Dave.
yes, sir. So last episode, of course, we talking about representation matters. Definitely does matter. We're going to continue that topic, but we took a little history lesson. We went back, a look back in the '90s and early 2000s, our era, our heyday. And so now we're looking at today. We're fathers, we have kids. We're not that old to where we don't know what's going on. I know some of the new artists and I keep up with some of the stuff that's happening. Not some, a lot of, just because I don't want to be that dad that just doesn't know. I don't want to be that guy that's out of the know so much. And this is actually, it brings up a good topic. So I think one of the biggest things that helps our generation is there's not that much of a generational gap between us and our kids. I know that our dad's generation, it was very much a generational gap. And I think a lot of it has to do with the hip hop era. Yeah. Hip hop allowed the gap not to be so distinct. Just because there's music today that I'm I kind of like that. You know what I mean? I'll be and then if my son is listening to it, he'll be like, Dad, yeah. And so but you think about when we were young and our music and our parents was like, what is this jungle? What is this? Turn that mess down. The way we dress, the way we everything, I think there's not that much of a gap because there's not that much gap in the culture from us coming up to our kids coming up. And so I think with it not being that much of a generational gap, it helps us as parents because we're a little bit more in the know.
Yeah.
And
easily relate.
More relatable in that sense. Because I think when the old generation used to say, remember they used to say Dad or Mom, you don't know what I'm going, you don't know nothing about it. And they'd be like, I went through the same thing. Yes, but you went through it at a time that yeah, you know what I mean? And so I would say there's nothing new under the sun. Yes, you did go through that, but there's also how culture affects what is happening and how it happens in the sense that we're more relatable to our kids in that than they were. Yeah. And so I said all that to say when they talk about positive imagery today, and how it affects kids or negative imagery per se. Yeah. We now can speak to it a little bit better. Yeah. We know what's happening a little bit better. And so I've noticed, just like we were talking about in the break, you've noticed that they're not getting what we got. The 90s and the early 2000s was a boom, an influx of positive Black imagery in movies and television, and all of a sudden cartoons, it was everywhere. And then it just died. Yeah. And I'm like, why? Yeah. And what happened? And I know the powers that be, I know Hollywood, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist today. There are some positive Black imagery for kids and different things that exist today. I just say in the way that it was represented and the amount and the capacity that it was, it's not even close to what we had. And I don't know how that's going to affect them going forward. Yeah. I know how it affected us. And I'm like, we just talked about last episode, how much that stuff affected us. I don't feel good about what I'm seeing right now and how it'll going to positively or negatively affect the next generation.
Yeah, same. And that's the thing. It's even with my kids, so they watch TV, Disney Plus. There's for our channels, it's 54 and 119. But even though there's one Sasha and Bear, my wife doesn't like them playing that because one or the other, they're always fussing, arguing, doing stuff like that. When you grow up, we had cartoons that made you laugh.
Right.
These cartoons nowadays, they're just completely different. They even got a cartoon person wearing skimpy clothes and makeup. I'm like, it's a cartoon. So stuff like that. So even when it came to all of the reality shows, when we grew up, Disney shows. Right. Disney was kids.
Yes.
Nickelodeon, it was kids. Now Disney shows, like I said, they got young teenage girls, or even in real life, late teens, early 20s, playing the age of someone who's 12,
Right.
forcing them to grow up quick. Yeah, so of course it's like, yes, what our kids are exposed to, they're forced to grow up quickly. Like I said earlier, yes, I know it's political with the pronouns, the he, she's, I'm a boy, but I'm dressed like a girl. Growing up, we just had to worry about saying no to drugs. Pretty much that's it.
Right.
Yeah, but now, like I said, they're exposed to things that are completely different. Uh, as a parent, I tell my wife all the time, I know I can only protect my daughters or my children from so much. They're going to be forced to learn it. My wife said, well, we shouldn't shelter them because she would rather them learn and her teach than her learn at school and somebody else teach.
Right.
So there's that balance there. If they come to your curiosity and ask a question, they can ask, we should answer it. But at the same time, I'm like, why can't my daughter just be 9 or 6 years old?
Yeah,
I already have to ask that question.
Be a kid, like how we used to just be kids. Like, I think because of these agendas, and that people are trying to push whatever it is. I don't care what it is. Whenever you're trying to push something into society, into culture, it's bad for the children, because when you push something into society, the culture, as an adult, I have the adult capacity to make a decision. I have the adult capacity to comprehend what you're saying. I can hear you. I can not hear you. I can agree. I can disagree. As a child, I need to have the room to be a child. I need to have the room to just be, 5, 6, 7 years old and have 5, 6, 7-year-old thoughts. I don't have to be thinking about these things that just don't pertain to me yet. And I don't know. That's why I disagree with a lot of these agendas pushing things. And this goes to me with when it comes to sexuality, race. There's a certain age that these discussions need to happen in a forum outside of people's homes. But until then, it needs to be in the house. That's the parent's job, right? Like, that's not your job, Mr. So-and-so. That's not your job, Mrs. So-and-so. This is my child, and I'm telling them what the X, Y, and Z is. That is why I applaud my dad, man, because when it comes to, like, everybody can go back and forth on how they feel about this critical race theory and all this stuff, whatever. But there's history, there's false history, and there's real history. And there's people who have written the books based on a narrative of, we won, so we're going to make it look like we were good the whole way. Like, everything was all good. And so there's a lot of that in history. It's written and everybody kind of knows it. But here's the problem. Information's free. We have Google. We have so much now. Like, when I was a kid, it was encyclopedias. You had to go find, like, you can find out anything nowadays. And I think we don't use what's there. As parents, my dad bought a bunch of books. He instilled in me a bunch about, so I know the real history of America. I know the history of the world. I know things that really took place and things that really didn't take place. And at school, they had to teach me nothing. My dad taught me that. And it's like that the resources need to be available, and we need to make the resources available for a parent. But the parent needs to teach that.
True. And that's the thing too. It's like with that saying, school didn't teach you that. Your parents taught you that. But at the same time, schools, a lot of that stuff they don't teach. But even now, because people are starting to become aware of things, expose their children to more things, and then the schools or the school districts or whomever are starting to become sensitive to that. So when it comes to basically those powers that be, they're saying, oh no, let's pull that curriculum. We don't want them to know the truth. So that's the unfortunate part. So as parents, yes, you need to be more involved with teaching your kids, being aware of being taught to your children. I created my wife to that because we constantly ask our daughter, how was your day? At 9, she's pretty smart, so how was your day? we start a conversation, she'll bring something up that the teacher said. Well, what do you mean? Well, what is she teaching now? And then, of course, we don't jump off the first conversation. We pay attention to a trend. And if we see that the trend is there, we'll say, okay, well, we'll go have a conversation with your teacher because what you're saying, you may be comprehending it wrong and explaining it wrong. At least the teacher will see that we're invested in our child's education.
Exactly. And then that's why it's so vital today for parents to take the initiative to teach your kids at home.
Yeah.
Because people are so pushing so many different narratives and so much different stuff. Your child doesn't know what's.
Yeah.
They can't. They don't know what's with the good thing or the bad, whatever.
Yeah.
And they can't comprehend that. And so the teacher may feel a certain way, and they're telling your kid to feel that way too.
Yeah.
And your kid is taught to listen to the teacher.
Yeah.
And so now it's like it can get murky. That's why I always say, like, make sure you're teaching your kids at home. So whatever they hear out there, if there's a contradiction, they know who the authority is and what, that, you know what I'm saying? And so.
And that's a tough balance too, because we tell them, make sure you listen to your teacher, respect your teacher. And they treat their teacher's word as gold.
Right.
Or sometimes they doubt their mom and dad.
Right,
so
right.
Like, no, like, you need to listen.
Yeah, listen to them to an extent. You know what I'm saying? And so my daughter has this naturally. And so I don't really have to teach it. I don't know if my son has it naturally yet, so we'll find out. But she questions everything.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, because a person who will just take what everybody says as goal, it's hard to get them to like, no, this is like, you got to convince them. Where my daughter's like, yeah, I don't know. Right? You know, and it frustrates the heck out of me sometimes. So I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, I just don't. But sometimes she's not questioning me. She's questioning the thing or it or whatever it is.
Happening.
So I have to find out. So there's a different type of disrespect of questioning your parent, or are you questioning like the thought? Right. And so when she does that, I don't discipline her on that level, because I'm like, you're like your dad in that way. Like I do that. I don't just I don't know, you know. And so I want her to continue that. I want her to have that, but I also want her to respect the people that are in authority and things like that. And so it's just with seeing the stuff that's going on TV and the media, it's like even more so, like, because I'm going through the channels and like I'm like watching it with them, like, what is this? What is the show about? What is this? And then I'm like, okay, all right, you can continue watching this. But it's like, you never know, because they try to throw it in. And they're so quick and so sly about it.
It's those subliminal messages.
And it's just like, I see, okay, I see what they're doing there. You know, and it's like, let the kid be a kid, man. Like Wile E. Coyote, and what was it, and Roadrunner BB? Like, they was just chasing each other, throwing anvils at each other.
They were just chasing each other.
It was like, it wasn't about like, oh, you chasing me because I'm black? Like, wait, what is this?
And I'm gonna be real with you, even that was probably one of the more frustrating things this past season. Yes, there was more cultural awareness, but almost everything became a race issue. Almost everything. And the thing is yes, as a black person, yes, I'm aware of this treatment. Yes, I'm aware of these injustices, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, it's like, now let my kid be a kid.
Right.
Why does he need to be exposed to it? It sucks when you have a daughter, my oldest, she's very smart. She'll question everything. Actually, questions where it's like, where did that come from? But you want to answer it. She's like, well, you know, Dad, do cops not like black people? So they hear that questions, it's like, how do I answer this? And then being in a way to where you can answer it. It is. And it's like, you answer in a way to the point to where, no, they do not have a thing against black people. But unfortunately, the way that the stories are being put out in the news, it will make you think that they do. So even on the same time, for example, what I told her is like, yes, that relationship goes both ways. the media is putting certain images out there, putting certain stories out there. They're not saying the police shot at armed suspect. That every story is a white cop shot a black suspect.
Mm-hmm.
They always put a color to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, the more they do that, they start to create division. So even when you go to school, you'll have some kids that might start looking at you differently just because of the texture of your hair. And that was the part that sucked, if I'm shooting it straight. To where now I have my daughter, Anaya, the school that she goes to, there's other black kids, but it's predominantly white. But in her entire grade level from the time that she was in kindergarten, she's the only black girl. So every grade level, she's the only black girl. So, Dad, why can't my skin be as light as this? Why can't my hair be long? Why can't my hair be thin, et cetera, et cetera? I'm not ready for those conversations.
Right.
So that's my wife, she chimes in, but even like I said, with her saying like, the cops not like black people, I would always have to tell her, no, it's not a dislike. It's just the way that these images are being portrayed. And the thing is, you have to be real cautious of course, when you go out there and you conduct yourself, I always tell her, remember, every time you step out that door, you represent God, you represent your family, and then you represent yourself.
Right.
That's why even me as dad, like whenever I step out there are some times I let the beard go, but it's only on the Fridays going into the weekend. But every time I go into work, I make sure I'm neatly groomed. I make sure my clothes is clean. I make sure my stuff is pulled up. When I walk into a store, I don't have my hands in my pocket. I used to have an issue sitting with my arms folded. That's just relaxing because it lets me rest my arms.
Right.
But that's appeared as a threat. So it's small stuff like that. So now I sit there like this, or I just try to play with my thumbs or something.
But you're a big dude. So like,
I ain't that big.
So no, no, honestly, like, it's funny because we laugh because it's an inside.
Yeah.
But like, he called me German. For the longest time. My real name, I go by Jay, but my real name is Jeremy. And so when I got to Fresno State, some of the people who knew me from high school and stuff will call me JT or call me J. But everybody else called me Visalia or they call me Jeremy or Jeremy. And he's called me Jeremy. But the first thing I found out was like, look, the dude was big and he was from Compton. And I said, and I never heard him speak. I never like interacted with him. And so I get how people can do that. Like look, I get it on both ends. I know how people can perceive other people easily the wrong way. And that's why I'm very cautious like you are of all of that, because you can get perceived completely different based on just a couple little factors. Like if I would have had a conversation with him and then he called me German, I would have been like, hey man, my name is German. You know what I mean? But I never had a conversation. So I'm going off of all of the stereotypes or all of what I can see and then not. And so we got to watch how when kids, they don't see all of the intricacies of all this stuff. Like, just like in the same way, I'm talking about the little, they see very broad scope, right? They paint with a very broad paintbrush as children because they're not there yet, right? And so we have to be careful with all that stuff because it can easily paint pictures for them that they don't need to be depicted in their brain.
They don't need to be exposed.
So like I'm very careful on what I do is I want to be careful on making sure my daughter, my son are okay with them and that Black is beautiful and that they are beautiful people and that the larger nose is okay, the bigger lips is okay. Like it is beautiful, it's natural, it's celebrate. And I said this about the feminism thing on the last episode. I was talking about men need to celebrate women more about the things that they're good at. And women need to celebrate men more about the things that they're good at. So that we don't have this, I can do what a man can do kind of atmosphere. And the reason why that is actually, I feel like that's happened is because men haven't celebrated women enough for the things that they can do that men can't. Where men get celebrated for the things that they can do that women can't. And that's how I think a lot of this not only started, but actually continues is because we don't celebrate these men don't celebrate, other women celebrate what women do, but men don't celebrate what women can do. And so in the same sense, and racially and culturally, we don't celebrate one another. We celebrate ourselves. And so it's like, I want you to, I want you to love yourself and okay with yourself, but I also want you to be able to be okay with celebrating somebody else's differences. Not looking at them as a negative, but a positive. Like look, my Mexican friend, they make that carne asada. It's good. I want to go to his house because it tastes good. It's different. I'm used to eating this, but they make that over there. I want to celebrate that. I want to celebrate that hummus. I want to celebrate that their cultural difference, the way they dress, their garb. Like, that's cool to me. Like, I like that, you know? And if we learn to celebrate each other's differences as opposed to looking at each other's differences as differences.
True.
I think we'll do better, and especially with kids, because kids can now see that picture as, oh, I'm okay and they're okay too. Like, not like they're better than me or I'm better than them. And I think that's the atmosphere that we create unconsciously when we do too much. Like, I feel like in the Black community, sometimes we do too much when it comes to Blackness. Like, we do too much. Black. Like, bro, calm down.
Chill.
Calm down. Now, yes, it's cool that we Black and all that. Like, and I love celebrating our culture. But don't get to the point that you end up doing what everybody else is doing to you that made you do that in the first place.
I hear. And that's the thing too, even I was talking to someone else is, of course, I am proud of my culture. I love my culture. I love all things that are Black. But at the same time, when it comes to the working world or even in the community, within the world, what are we, like maybe 10%? 14%, but at the same time, knowing and understanding that because those stereotypes are out there, because those assumptions are out there, sometimes the Black culture can come off as strong and intimidating to the next person. So a way for me to ease that intimidation, I'm not going to come off with, oh, I'm Black, Black power, Black this, whatever, wearing dashikis all day, every day. No, I'm just going to be me, because basically my assumption is to do those things to basically push that person away. So let me be myself. Let me love on this person. I can expose that person to my culture once that conversation comes, instead of forcing them on themselves.
And that's what it is being yourself. I learned from my African friends. I have a lot of African friends that live here in the U.S. and their Africanness is just them. They're not trying. And I think that's what we were talking about. It's trying too hard. It's like, no, this is just me. This is my culture. And they're able to go in environments and celebrate other people and their cultures and be comfortable because they're comfortable in their own skin, just being themselves. And I think Black folks too much, we're not comfortable. Like,
keeping up with the Joneses, trying to outdo.
We're just not comfortable. Like, we're not comfortable. I just think we're just not comfortable, man. Like, we don't. Black fatherhood. So I've always said that Black doesn't need to be associated with things that are natural. So Black music, you can put Black in front of music because that's not universal. Right? It's different. Fatherhood is universal. Right? And so, like, in this context, because we're talking about cultural things, we can say Black fatherhood, but on the day-to-day, I'm just a father. Right? So I don't say I'm a Black father. I say I'm a father, right?
But the thing is, even with that, true, it's universal. Fatherhood is universal. But at the same time, having other individuals see Black fathers that are involved, that are supportive, that are strong, it allows that little John, little dude from across the street, to where he didn't grow up with those things. So it's like, oh, well, that's a cool dude. Well, I'm 15 years away from being a parent, but I don't have a parent now. maybe that person could be my mentor. Maybe
Right.
that person can help me through junior high and high school. So yes, fatherhood is universal, but I still think there's power behind being a Black father.
Oh yeah, there's definitely power and there's definitely good representation.
Yeah.
But my thing is like that happens anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's gonna happen anyway. It's not because I'm a Black father, it's just because I'm a father who happens to be the same color as you,
Yeah.
doing X, Y, and Z, and you see that you're influenced by it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I dress a certain way that's cultural, that's different than everybody else, I'm
Yeah.
actively different in some kind of way, which is that's why we're saying earlier where we're saying the Air Force Ones and the hoodie and all of that is a cultural staple. It's something that we like to wear, something that's fashionable to us, but depicted a certain way because it's different than everybody else.
Yeah, I get you.
Whereas like if it's the same, they're just like, okay, that's the same. And so my thing is like, that's why I'm so big on us celebrating our differences and looking at more of our similarities. Because the more you look at your similarities and you celebrate the differences, you don't now become better, worse, or like it's not a competition. It's not this. It's just like, oh, you wear a hat like that. I'll wear a hat like this. Like it's not a big thing, but fear of the unknown. And that when I'm talking about those bubbles and where people live in these bubbles and like these neighborhoods, this is why I'm not big on your organization, your church, your whatever. If you live in a neighborhood that's diverse and everybody in your organization look the same, something's wrong.
Sure.
Because America is this one place that's so different. Like my African friends have taught me this. You go to China, it's 90% Chinese. You go to Japan, you go to Egypt, you go like wherever. America, we have this dynamic because you have all of these cultures in one place. So they don't have to deal with, Africa doesn't have to deal with the Black church. Well, why is that a Black church? Well, everybody in there is Black, obviously. So there's going to be a Black church. So they have to deal with that dynamic. They don't have to deal with it. Here we do. And I think that that's what's unique about America. That's what's unique about being a Black American is navigating our way in a society that really never wanted us in the first place. Because we're not supposed to be here. We slaves, we were brought here. So it's almost like trying to fit in a square in a circle hole, right? Eventually, you're going to have to cut that hole in order to make it fit.
Customize it.
And so the customization part, I think, hasn't taken place because other people don't want to customize it. They want their own circle. So it's like, no, this is a circle. You're just going to have to deal with it.
It is a discomfort. A lot of times with that, it's changing norms, changing practices, changing customs. So sometimes people may be wanting for things to remain the same. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I'm good just like this. I don't want to go introduce that person. I might be setting myself up for failure. So it's that, and it's a fear just like you spoke of. So even when it comes, like I said, what our children are being exposed to, how they're forced to grow up with, is our jobs as parents is to give them the confidence and the strength and even a personal security amongst themselves and not be fearful of being exposed to something new. Because that's why society is probably the way it is now. It's like they don't want to be exposed to something new. They are content with how things are. So therefore, I'm not going to build this relationship. I'm not going to learn this new talent. So our job basically, because we're like the chameleon, just learning everything, exposing myself to everything. No, let me expose my children. Let me teach my children, guide my children so they can make sound decisions, and then boom. So now they can continue it on.
And I think the exposure is huge because when we talk about depictions of in media and television and different things, I see your kids and the people that you associate yourself with. This is what I love about social media too. is you sometimes get to see into other people's lives and certain things, whatever that people share. I see your friend group.
Yeah.
You have a multicolored, multiracial, multi-ethnic friend group.
Yeah.
Your kids see that.
Yeah.
And your kids are exposed to all types of people from all types of backgrounds. And so that fear level is gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, because now it's not this, you know, and so I think when it comes to exposure, we have to, in this day and age, because there's so much these kids are being bombarded with, we still have to talk to them about it. And that's the thing that, like you said, like, I don't want to have to talk to my kid about this, but we have to, but in the sense of allowing them a holistic viewpoint on it, as opposed to some just like broad, like, you know what I mean? Because it's like,
I'm going deep on stuff, like even with that, being a father to two girls, the other day, Anaya, probably shouldn't be saying her name, but I mean, my oldest daughter, she came to me, she's like, damn, my chest keeps itching. I'm like, well, put some lotion on it. Like, I don't know. And she came saying, damn, my chest is itching. Well, just put a towel on it. So that being me, like, if your dog's sick, go eat grass. So Anaya came to me again, and my wife went to go look at her. And of course, it's like now she's at that stage where her body's changing. And the thing is, even like I say, as a parent or even as a father, being comfortable now, besides having those conversations, so why do cops not like us? Why is this or why is that? Being comfortable and having that conversation about their body. Right. So it's all of those things tied in together. And because please, if you don't talk to your kid about their body, TV is going to talk.
Oh yeah, they're going to do it. So they're going to do it. If you don't talk about the culture, you don't talk about what's happening on these TVs, what happening, they're going to do it. And I think too, what's nice is there's about the 90s and the early 2000s with the alternatives.
Yeah.
There's not that many alternatives today. So like, if my kid is listening to certain music, there is alternatives there. Like, so me and Dwayne talked about that before, but like my kid listening to Drake or something, and like, I kind of like that. I like that look. But I got this Andy Mineo. I got this Trick Lee. I got this Lecrae that hit just as good, but it's a little bit more positive, a little bit more this and that and the other. They have an alternative. There's not that much alternatives in the media space and culture right now for kids to have a choice. And so that means that us as parents, we have to be more distinct on speaking about these things, talking about these things, to give them a different viewpoint than what's out there, because there is no other alternative thought, right? You turn on the news and, like, let's say you see Fox News and you see CNN. There's two opposing views, but there may be something in the middle that both are missing. And it's like, if the kid is watching either one of them, they're going to jump to a conclusion of one or the other. But if they don't get you speak in the middle, they'll never hear it because it's not out there, you know? And so it's like, we have to be very careful today. Like, my kids are smaller than yours. Like, yours are, your oldest. Yeah, your oldest. Because the other two, they're 8 months apart. But your oldest is coming into that. Where
she's asking questions.
And it's
like, even with that, if I'm sitting there and watching the news, I'll let her sit and watch it with me. But it does get to a point where I will turn the channel, like the war in Ukraine. All right, that's enough. Let's change it. This political stuff. All right, that's enough. Let's change it. I let her watch it with me just to start the dialogue, just to start the thought process. Where she comes with a question, I'll give her an answer, and it turns into another why. So for that, it helps her with her brain development. Having my daughter from day one, I said I will always encourage their independency, but I'll put it in check when I need to. And the main reason why is like, well, I want my daughter to be strong growing up and not be manipulated by whatever they hear or see or someone take advantage of them. They need to know how to respect authority, but they also need to use their voice and speak up. So it's that approach when it comes to having a conversation. Like I said, there's even more things to where one time I talked to this one guy and we had a huge disagreement. And when it comes to talking racism, I try to use metaphors to hopefully something that somebody can easily relate to. For
Right.
one metaphor I use this guy, I'm like, all right, well, let's say you and I go to the same gym. I'll go early in the morning and it's the cleanest gym out there because everybody does their workout and they put it away. You go later in the evening. You don't like that gym because it's always crowded. You and I, we're not right or wrong. It's just a different perspective, a different time that we're visiting the gym.
Right.
So be open to each other's opinion, point of view. That's all it is. So even with Anaya talking to her, I'm like, well, well, there's always going to be cultural differences out there. There's no right, there's no wrong. If anything, be open to what the other person is saying and hear and make your own decision. And I think that's what's wrong with the world now. Like a lot of times they're not open to different perspectives.
Nah.
So therefore they're pushing one out to the other. So
not at all. They want their way or the highway.
yeah.
I did a video actually a little while ago. I posted to Instagram because I wanted to let people know that the algorithm is built. Facebook, Instagram, all these places are out there. They're built to feed you how you think about the world.
Yeah.
Because if you start going down the Biden roll, you're gonna get fed Biden. If you go down the Trump roll, you're gonna get fed nothing but Trump stuff. If you go down the twerking roll, you're gonna see nothing but twerking. Like whatever you're going down that rabbit hole, they're gonna keep feeding you that. And so you have to allow yourself to be fed different things and different perspectives so that you can make a sound decision based on seeing all of it as opposed to just one view, because it's easy to start siding with something if that's all you hear all the time.
Sure. It is.
You know?
Yeah, like I said, that's the reason why, like I said, you have those individuals that are out there that have the stereotypes. We're going up against stereotypes. Our children are going against stereotypes, but I think it's allowing them to be comfortable in their own skin, and loving their hair, loving their features. It doesn't matter. So people will be fed those things. Of course, we're the minority when it comes to percentage of ethnicities. So the majority of the population will think that. But at the same time, as parents, we need to encourage our children. Because like I said, nowadays, we had Saturday cartoons. Our kids don't get that.
No.
We had all these different sitcoms. Our kids don't get that.
No.
So as a parent now, it's like, okay, well, it's my job to influence my child in a positive way. Even if it's them showing how to love my wife. Me giving her a kiss. Me holding her hand. Me making her laugh. Me making her blush. It's those small things. I'm constantly telling my wife, like, hey, kid, your mom loves you. Your dad loves your mom. They're at this point now, they're like, yeah, I know.
I don't want to hear it.
Exactly. Yeah, so like I say, it's just a subtle stuff.
It is. And it's representation in the home. And that's big too. We talked about that a couple episodes ago about kissing your wife in front of the kids and stuff like that. They have to see depictions of love and affection and what that's supposed to be, because they have to model that later in life. I know it seems weird and awkward to us sometimes, but it's like, no, we have to sometimes purposely do that just so they can see it, just so that they know, you know, and because we're modeling them, we're modeling what, the next generation has. It's just bothersome to me though. Just like I said, when we did that last episode, we took a look back. There was a lot for us to take in that was headed a different direction. This, in today's day, you can't put the kid in front of the TV and walk away like our parents did.
My wife tell me all the time, you need to make sure they watch what they say they watching.
Because it's different, man. Like Wile E. Coyote is gone, man. It's something totally different, And so it's just like, if anything, I want to tell the fathers out there, make sure that you're aware of what your kids are seeing in this generation, and then try your best to find alternatives. They're out there. It's harder to find today than it used to be, but they are there, and you can find the alternative, but it takes work. And I think it's something that people don't really want to do, you know what I mean? And so it takes work, but they're there. I'm gonna leave with this one because this is I can't think of the name. It's bothering me right now. But there's a nursery rhyme thing on YouTube that's blowing up, It's a little black girl, and her dad came up with these hip hop versions of nursery rhymes and songs.
Oh,
Something's Corner.
not Gracie's. Is it
Gracie's Corner.
Yeah.
Yes. Gracie's Corner, y'all. Like, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to fun, nothing that has an agenda, that is an alternative, has a different feel because it's cultural feel to it, hip hop and stuff for your kids.
Yeah.
And you can put your kids in front of that and walk away.
It's catchy. It teaches them. So.
Yeah, it teaches them. It's good.
Yeah.
I this wasn't like a plug for Gracie's Corner. I don't have a sponsorship by Gracie's Corner at all. But there's things, like I said, there's things out there. You just have to look.
Yeah.
You just have to look. But this is a Black Fatherhood Podcast, episode 6 with my man Dave Huff. I was so happy to have you, bro, because this is my best friend, y'all. Y'all don't understand, like,
we go back.
We're brothers. Like, this is 20 plus years. I'm excited about. I just love seeing you as a dad, man. Knowing your background, knowing where you came from, what you're doing. Keep doing it, man. Keep being a strong black, positive male in the community. You don't really know sometimes how much of an impact you have, not only on the culture, not only children, but other men that are around you. So I just want to commend you, man, and thank you for just being the black man that you are, brother.
I appreciate it. I love you too.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Black Father Legacy.